evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jack Douglas. People who have never been to Honolulu know of it as the capital of one of America's most beautiful states. But the millions who have visited this sparkling city by the Pacific shores think of it in more ecstatic terms. This is your armchair vacation, and mine too, a heaven called Honolulu. These are the famous landmarks all visitors to Honolulu look for. Diamond Head and Aloha Tower at the harbor, and the beachfront where the blue of the sea washes the golden sands. But this is the new Honolulu, looking very much, incidentally, like Miami or Phoenix, Arizona. Well, Honolulu and Hawaii have changed much, and for the better, since Captain Cook discovered this Pacific paradise in 1778. Now, at first, the natives regarded Cook as a god, and he was treated as such. But on his return to the islands a year later, the great explorer was killed in a skirmish with the natives. We can see from these old prints that the early Hawaiians were a handsome people and noted for their courage and willingness to wage war. This painting illustrates that unfortunate fray in which the world lost one of history's most incredible navigators, Captain Cook. About 70 years after Cook, Honolulu looked like this, a thriving community indeed. And here is Diamond Head as it was in 18 compared with today. This closer view eliminates the ocean. Well, after a quick air trip of only a few hours from the west coast, Hawaiian hospitality takes over. And then in the city, there's a welcome show in store for us, sponsored by a big company that makes cameras and motion picture film. It's probably the most photographed show on the islands. All right, we've been welcomed to Honolulu, but where do we stay? Well, the distinguished Royal Hawaiian is always a top choice, and so is the Reef Hotel on Waikiki Beach, especially after sundown on Monday nights, when the Reef presents a show that originated back in 1954, A Night in the Philippines. This review, created by Orlando and Pat Valentin, is a musical and dancing tour through the Philippines. Here are some of the colorful excerpts, and first, the itik itik, or duck dance. The maglatik is the dance of the coconut shells. Now, in a different mood, the show offers a dance called Young Maiden Dancing in the Moonlight. The Hawaiian Village has received much well-deserved publicity in recent years, and here is one of the minor reasons: the ceremony that precedes the big daily luau at the village. The giant kalua pig is carried aloft, with much fanfare I might add, to the imu or barbecue pit, where a crowd of spectators stands by to offer encouragement and even some advice. This ancient Polynesian style of barbecuing takes hours, so we'll just sort of change the scene to the dinner hour and the luau feast itself. Well, the table bulges with a variety of exotic foods, most of which are eaten without silverware, especially poi. And as the saying goes, don't knock it until you've tried it. So, This attractive guest tries it and, well, all right. Even in downtown Honolulu, you dress as you please, and the surfboard is a sort of status symbol, taking us to the beach. Naturally, in Honolulu, the beach means Waikiki. And you know, if anything, this world-renowned strip of sand has become lovelier and more glamorous as the city has grown. Waikiki, by the way, is the official headquarters for the Fraternal Order of Girl Watchers. This youngster isn't concerned with girls. Where in the world is Mommy? But seriously, if Honolulu is a haven for worn-out parents, it is sheer heaven for the children. Until about 5 p.m., when Mom and Dad decide it's time to go back to the hotel, and then, wow, comes the revolution. The younger set, teenage and up, will usually be found at Makapuʻu Point, where the waves break just right for body surfing. No surfboards are used, although smaller boys and girls will wisely take along a belly board known as a pipa. This is where the action is at Makapuʻu Point. Ashore at Makapuʻu Point, just 13 miles from Waikiki, you really must visit this entertainment arena known as Sea Life Park. It has the largest exhibit of marine life in the world, and the theme of the park is the sea and man's relationship to the world of water. This man-made lake, a pool of 1 million gallons of water, is called Whalers Cove, the habitat of trained spinning porpoises. They are marvelous to watch. Now, here they are in slow motion. Suddenly, a lovely Hawaiian beauty appears, and the porpoises celebrate with a hula. And what a lovely setting this is. Now let's meet one of the porpoises trainers, Miss Randy Lewis.
Here at Sea Life Park, we're doing a lot of research work besides doing shows for tourists. One of the things that I'm working on here is trying to train a bottlenose dolphin named Vela to say hello. Whenever I hear Vela make a sound that sounds like the word hello, I'll reward her with the whistle and with fish. I'll show you what I mean. Here, Vela. Come on. Hello. 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 Hello.
Thank you, Randy and friends. We'll be seeing you soon at this fabulous Sea Life Park. On the second or third day of your Honolulu holiday, you will find yourself at the International Market Place in the heart of Waikiki. You can't miss it, you shouldn't miss it, and if you did, you would probably never forgive yourself. In this one marketplace, there are more than 50 shops, restaurants, and nightclubs, let alone a variety of interesting outdoor shows and exhibits devoted to the preservation of Hawaiian culture. Now, to those who might say, well, everybody goes to the marketplace, I would have to answer, everyone who goes to Paris sees the Eiffel Tower. I think you will want to spend the better part of a day here, and the chances are that you will visit the market more than once during your stay. This giant catamaran, the Ale Kai V, is not merely a vessel you wistfully admire from the shore. For this 100-foot beauty is a commercial, passenger-carrying catamaran, and for just a few dollars, you too can be a passenger on one of her many daily 2- and 3-hour cruises. The sunset dinner sailings are the most colorful of all, and what sunsets these are. You're free to take your buffet dinner on deck, enjoying the music and songs of some of the crew, And after dinner, you figure you might as well learn the hula at sea and really surprise the landlubbers the next day.
Very good. Wonderful day. Oh, Hawaiian. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes, they're having a ball, and isn't this a happy and a nice way to spend an evening? Historic buildings in America, this one in Honolulu is indeed singular and most unique. Iolani Palace is the only royal palace in the 50 states, and today it's merely a famous tourist attraction, but only a few generations ago, the kings and queens of Hawaii held court in the throne room. Queen Kuahumanu was one of the early monarchs, but Queen Liliuokalani is best remembered by history. She lived from 1838 until 1917, but ruled for only several years before the turn of the century at Iolani Palace. The Honolulu Academy of Art is another must, for it has one of the finest collections of Oriental art in all the world. This classic banana plant screen is 16th century mineral colors on gold paper. The limestone Buddha is 1,000 years older, possibly of the Tang Dynasty, 600 to 650 A.D. This now is the scroll of the Hundred Geese, ink on paper dating back to the 12th century. And here's a more distinct section of this exquisite scroll, considered one of the most priceless in the Western world. And here is magnificent antique wallpaper designed and made in France between 1804 and 1806, depicting scenes from the voyages of Captain Cook. And to me, this alone is worth your visit to the Academy, which also features classic artworks such as the Holy Family from the Flemish School. Put it down on your list, the Honolulu Academy of Art. The third and last of our cultural stops is the Queen Emma Museum, once the summer home of the beloved Queen Emma and King Kamehameha IV. Of special interest are some of the Queen's favorite possessions: a tiger claw necklace gifted to her by an Indian Maharaja, a blue agate bracelet from England's Queen Victoria. From the Duke of Edinburgh in 1869, Queen Emma received this gold bracelet mounted with a large amethyst enhanced by diamonds and pearls, and the Queen's monole, a neckband of rare yellow feathers. Hawaiian, yes. Primitive, no. Emma was every inch a royal queen. King Kamehameha I is Hawaii's most striking figure. It was he who, by war and treaty, unified the separate kingdoms of Hawaii and made them as one. And few men in history have so completely dominated the formative years of their nation. This chapel and its grounds make up the Royal Mausoleum of Hawaii, for here are buried many of the island's great kings and queens, predominantly of the Kamehameha line. To Hawaii's fellow Americans from the other 49 states, the royal emblem is regarded with respect, for the monarchs buried here are the only ones who ever occupied a royal throne on American soil. In Waiole, a suburb of Honolulu, this modest grass hut was the home of a man who looked like a king, but who was merely a prince of the pen. Did I say merely? What a magnificent legacy he left behind, this man who was christened Robert Louis Stevenson. And this white frame house is even older than the Stevenson hut. It was built in 1821 by some of the pioneer missionaries to Hawaii, and it's the oldest frame building in all the islands. And this, well, this is a manola or sedan chair used by one of the missionary women, Mrs. Elias Bond. Native boys would carry her about in this chair in exchange for school books and clothing. These mortars or bowls were called dripstones and were used by the missionaries to clear brackish water from shallow springs. And the stone fireplace was lined with coral, growing in abundance on the offshore reefs. The Christian missionaries built their churches, and the same religious tolerance has been granted to all faiths in Hawaii. This striking house of worship is the Soto Zen Buddhist temple, and we were given the privilege of photographing the altar through the courtesy of the Reverend Daiki Hunt, a former Londoner now in his 80s who has lived in Hawaii for 50 years. The Reverend Hunt became interested in Buddhism as a youth in the British Navy stationed in India, and later he studied the faith in Burma and India, and he is an ordained Buddhist priest. Spiritually and architecturally, east meets west at the Soto Zen Temple. The international market we saw earlier would be dwarfed by the Ala Moana Shopping Center, the largest in the entire world. And everything we're seeing, except for the distant horizon, is part of this mammoth shopping center. The buildings are smartly stylish and accented with brilliant colors. There are escalators all over the place, and despite the caution sign, few people wear shoes. Sandals and bare feet seem to be the order of the day. While you're at the center, don't miss the chance to lunch at this restaurant overlooking the beautiful Ale Wai Yacht Harbor. Downtown again, the sightseer looking for something unusual on his Honolulu vacation will stop in at HATS, an abbreviation for Hawaiian Air Tours. These flights tour the major islands, but hear this, the flights leave at 5:45 a.m. and you won't be back until 6:30 p.m. Believe it or not, that bowl-shaped crater below is how Diamond Head looks from the air. The Captain Cook Monument at Hawaii Bay, island of Hawaii. Next, some of the lava flow area dating back to the 1950 eruption of Mauna Loa. It's a lava desert, really. Now we're approaching Kilauea Crater, still smoking and steaming, and the most active volcano on the island. Here the steam escapes from cracks in the lava beds, and what appears to be a similar scene is actually Black Sands Beach. Ahead is Mount Waialaule, the wettest spot in the world. And our pilot told us that in his 11 years of flying these tours, this was only his second clear view of the mountain. The mountain averages from 300 to 600 inches of rainfall per year. Now Waimea Valley, sometimes called the Grand Canyon of Hawaii. Kalākaua Valley inspired Jack London's novel, Valley of the Lost Tribe. It's a remote and not easily accessible valley by foot. Finally, the famous forbidden island, Ni'ihau, which does not allow visitors. Only a small number of pure Hawaiians live on this privately owned island. Well, on your last day in Honolulu, chances are you're going to try to rush around to see as much as you can before departure. At Punchbowl Crater, also known as the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific, you may wish to pay silent tribute to our fallen heroes of Pacific combat duty. In the bright sunlight, the legend on the memorial is hard to read. It says, "The solemn pride that must be yours to have laid so costly a sacrifice upon the altar of freedom." Incidentally, visitors to Punchbowl Crater have an almost unparalleled view of Honolulu. And vacationers of all ages, but especially the children, should stop in at the Waikiki Aquarium. And here you'll see more exotic and colorful Pacific species of fish than probably anywhere else in the world. The colors are just unbelievable. The Blowhole is a minor yet a famous attraction, and contrary to what you've been told, it does not make a loud sound. At least it didn't while we were here. The sightseers are Dorothy and Jerry Gill of Alabama. At Waikahalulu Falls, your youngsters will say, "You go home, we'll stay." Well, we can't blame them, can we? Back at the hotel, the Royal Hawaiian or any other, you won't regret a last fling at the chow line, promising faithfully, of course, that you'll start counting calories again the moment you get back home. But the food, superb though it may be, is not the major memory of your visit to this richly endowed city. Indeed, I don't know of any one thing that we remember most of all about Honolulu. I do know that while we were on the catamaran cruise, we asked one of these young people, "What's your opinion of Honolulu?" And the reply was, "Man, this is heaven." And from all that we have seen during this whirlwind 30-minute tour, I think we'll have to agree with the statement. This is a heaven called Honolulu. Who have left the mainland to live in America's 50th state. His name is Mr. Jack Heinz. The walls of his living room are adorned with his own paintings, and Jack isn't a great painter nor a poor one, but then painting is merely his hobby, not his vocation. I thought you might be interested in knowing why he and his family moved to Hawaii.
Why does one come to Hawaii? That's a good question, Jack. In our case, we came here to semi-retire. Some people come here to completely retire. The corporation I've been with for many years decided that I'd be just the one to come over here and watch our new interests. We bought a large portion of one of the local newspapers. Jack, I'm really surprised that more people from the West Coast or any part of the mainland don't come over here in greater numbers. So many think the only place to go is Palm Springs or Fort Lauderdale, Florida, someplace around there. With the low cost now to get here and the easy transportation, the few hours it takes to get here, I'm surprised that we don't have at least 2 million visitors a year in Honolulu. We've got so much to offer here: surfing, golf, anything you can think of in outdoor sports, plus good entertainment anytime. It's a way of life that people would be interested in being a part of.
Thank you, Mr. Heinz. Now